And welcome back to the Stan Simpson Show. We're talking about the defections from the Big East Conference. Scott Gray, WTIC-AM, Dom Lamore, UConn basketball beat writer. Now, Dom, you were mentioning that big-time football carries a freight right now, and the one thing for UConn, if they go to the ACC, their football program is still ascending. Though one could argue, reaching a BCS bowl game, they've more than ascended. They're there.
Well, you know, what they've done in a short amount of time is really remarkable, the strides that they've made. But, you know, I wonder if UConn at this point has the national profile as a football program to, let's say, attract, you know, some of the teams, for instance, the Big Ten. You know, would UConn really be a football fit in the Big Ten? I do think they would be a football fit in the ACC.
Why?
I think there are a lot of programs there that they would be on a pretty good competitive field with.
Would it enhance recruiting? I mean, the ACC, does that now make them more appealing to that blue chip recruit?
Two reasons. Number one, the league, but also the fact that the way you would break it up into two 8-team divisions, it would put UConn in the North Division with some great regional rivalries. You'd keep the rivalry with Syracuse. You'd bring Boston College back into the mix. Maryland would become party to
Randy
all of this.
Edsall returns.
Right. You'd be playing against Randy Edsall every year. And, you know, so really, UConn is not one of the premier programs in the country, but this would enhance their overall visibility and image. And I was saying to you, the real shame here is the Big East had its own future in its own hands, had plenty of opportunity to save itself. But I believe that, you know, everybody in the Big East office, they're all descendants of Dave Gavitt. And everybody...
The commission's the founder of the Big East.
Right. Nobody wanted to be the guy who told the teams that really made this league happen for Dave Gavitt, that their time in the league was up.
The basketball conference,
the basketball only teams. St. John's, Georgetown, Villanova,
right, so
Seton
give them a
Hall.
quick history. That Big East started as more of the basketball conference.
It was a basketball
You're saying the world
conference,
changed,
right.
and that the schools didn't adjust accordingly, like UConn adjusted accordingly.
About 10 years into the history of the Big East, or let's say 15 years into the history of the Big East, after the dissolution of the College Football Association, when the CFA came back into the NCAA, football started to drive the bus, and football became the important factor. And as great a basketball league as the Big East was, football was the big man on campus now. And at that time, if they had made the decision, we've got to eject, when they went into became a football league, we've got to eject the basketball. There were some attractive programs out there that were gettable. That, you know, when Skip Holtz...
So you're saying that they should have cut loose the basketball programs? Right. The Georgetown, the St. John's,
and
Seton
gone to this football.
You are cutthroat. That's a cutthroat move there.
Well, you know, what do you think?
These guys come in and form a league. You want to cut them loose when they get going? What do you think
going for the money is? What do you think bolting your league that you've been in for 30 years now and going for the money is? It's cutthroat. It's business. It's money, and it's the survival of the fittest. And the Big East had a chance to align itself with the fittest and didn't. There were some attractive programs out there. You could have brought Memphis in. You could have, when Skip Holtz was coaching at East Carolina, that was a very attractive program. If you had brought them in at that time and melted them into the Big East, into the BCS equation, they would have become an attractive program.
What's the case to make now for the UConn staying there? You made a good case on why they should have reacted earlier to Big East. Any case to make now for UConn?
No.
Hanging tough with a league that they helped to found, that has some loyalty. Is there any case at all?
No.
No. I mean, basketball-wise, they're not going to be hurt. I mean, basketball-wise, UConn's going to be good, and it's not going to. They wouldn't be terribly hurt wherever they were.
Right.
But I think football-wise, I think they would lose so much of what they've invested and gained in football if they stay.
How about this? How about the guys who stay, the teams that stay, merging with the other leagues that are losing defectors, and you combine all the sort of outcast teams and throw them together into a league?
What leagues? You mean the Big 12?
Yeah.
The Big 12 teams have no interest. I mean, everybody now perceives the Big East as a league that is crumbling, and nobody wants to, you know, jump onto. You know, that would be like after the Titanic hits the iceberg. You say, "Can I get a ticket on this ship?"
Well, how about this? How about the basketball power teams, the St. John's, the Villanova, Seton Hall? How about them still forming their own basketball conference? So what the heck with the football school?
I think that's what's going to happen. I think ultimately, if the Big East survives, the Big East brand will survive as a basketball-only conference. Perhaps adding schools like Xavier to the St. John's, Georgetown mix. I don't think the Big East has any future as a football conference, except as a very second-tier football conference.
And that's not
what UConn wants to be.
The other thing about the way this thing played out and how fortunate it was for UConn UConn that they did get to that 1A level, and they are in a position to move with the other 1A football teams. Is you notice all the teams that Dom is talking about adding, the Xavier's and the teams that are there, these are all private schools, and they probably wouldn't have any room or wouldn't have any use for a state-funded public university as part of their little basketball league, because they wouldn't be able to compete with the University of Connecticut. So UConn, if they weren't a 1A football team and in position to go to a 1A football league, they might be invited to leave the Big East when it becomes a basketball only league.
In about 30 seconds, how do you make sure this doesn't happen again? What do you do to put some teeth into it where if they do go to the ACC, what kind of teeth can you put into it where teams just can't fly willy-nilly? They're already raising the penalty from leaving from $5 million to $20 million to an exit fee for the ACC. Is that the answer? How do you make it a disincentive to just feel you're always a free agent as a conference member? Because this can't keep happening, guys. Every 5 years, teams fly out.
I don't think there is a way to do it. I think schools are going to always be apt to do what's best for them. They're always going to be apt to look at greener pastures, and I don't know if there is any way to do it. You can make the penalties stiffer. You can make the lame duck period longer and enforce it, although that's not in anyone's best interest.
Right. Money always talks, right?
Yeah. So I don't think the way to do it is to simply make your league lucrative enough so that teams do not want to leave.
That's the key point. Live up to the vision that you've established. If you live up to the vision of this super conference, then nobody's going to want to leave.
All right. We don't have much time, but I would say the Big East did a pretty good job leaving them together. They were a pretty competitive conference, so I would say they...
In basketball.
Okay. All right.
Jim Calhoun said it best this week. The Big East that he knew and he loved, it really hasn't existed for about 10 years.
And Jim Boeheim said the same thing, and that's why he said it was time to move on.
All right. So we can expect that this will be a done deal soon. Dom Amore, Scott Gray, thanks, guys. When we come back, we'll talk about a massive downsizing at Bank of America and what that means for Connecticut. George Bordenaro of the Hartford Business Journal joins us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, too. Don't go away.